Now that we've taken a look at the main causes, let's apply that knowledge to a primary source. And we're going to pick up the story here at 1789, on the eve of the revolution. Something's about to change, and this is the type of artwork that's being produced by bourgeoisie, members of the bourgeois class, bourgeoisie members of the third estate living in Paris. So take a moment and annotate this source. Think about the steps. Go to the caption and any background information first. Then pick out the main elements. Then look at the smaller elements and build a message. I'm going to hit pause for a moment and you should do the same. Great, so you should have had a bit of a go at annotating and thinking about this source. Certainly what this source is suggesting is that the inequalities within the ancien regime, within the estate system, seem unable to be sustained by 1789. The ancien regime and its system of absolute monarchy and its system of privileges seems like it's at its end by 1789. Something's got to change. Let's have a look at this cartoon, and don't forget how it relates to similar cartoons. Look for corroboration. You've done these other cartoons above me here. Make sure you're getting a sense of how this cartoon continues in the same vein. It contains many of the same characters. Here we are again, the first estate and the clergy. No cross on him this time. Maybe a little bit harder to identify, but certainly he should be clear to you. The second estate in much more modern clothing now. The nobility, the military officers. We've got his sword, we've got his staff. He is clearly in command. This is the second estate. And we have our third estate. Third estate trapped under a rock. With the right hand, perhaps, he's trying to push the rock off. But certainly with his left hand, he's reaching up. I wonder if that is sort of a suggestion of reaching for help, grabbing at the robes of the clergy, perhaps the estate, the order of France, that would be most likely to want to help the poor. I don't know. Seems interesting imagery and choices made by the artist here in this etching. Let's move on. There's a whole stack of rural imagery in here. We've got shepherds in the background. We've got a wagon that is sort of left lying at the countryside as if work has been interrupted. We've got fruit on the ground left to rot. We've got a shovel on the ground. Very rural imagery. But it's interesting to note that a king isn't depicted. Perhaps this would suggest that the king is not being singled out as responsible for the pain being suffered by our third estate at this time. Maybe the artist here, as a member of the bourgeoisie third estate, has grievances more with the first and second estates than with the king himself. Let's take one step further. The positioning of the various characters and estates within this artwork indicate that the upper have the privileged, the wealthy, access to power, and are weighing down the disadvantaged. It's weighing down the third estate into a state where they lack opportunity, where they're required to pay taxes and duties. And those taxes, duties, and services are all laid out here on the rock. Let's have a look at that again in more detail now so you can study it. There is a crushing burden of the rock. The burden is taxes. These are both taxes here, and duties, corvées. A tail is a form of land tax, a little bit like modern land tax and rates. An impot are compulsory charges like tolls. As you go over bridges into the city walls, you had to pay a compulsory charge. And a corvée is where third estate people were required to do forced labour, unpaid, for their local aristocracy. Things like building roads, repairing roofs of buildings, and so on. These seem to be the grievances of the third estate. Now think if you were writing a paragraph about this source, talking about the ancien regime, how you could corroborate your observations here with the images of exploitation in the people of the third estate cartoon and the images of slavery, of being imprisoned by the estate system that you see in We Must Hope This Game Is Still Over. Now, it's interesting to note this particular etching is part of a series that emphasises that the society must change in order for the third estate to fulfil its ambitions, to achieve its potential. The wealth, the power, the status of the first and second estate is achieved regardless of their ability. They could be completely incompetent and still rise to the top of society, where the potential of the bourgeoisie in particular is limited by them being born into the third estate. This world could be changed, according to the bourgeoisie. Look at this reversal. It's still got our three estates being drawn. It's still got a rock. It's still got many of the same images of the previous cartoon. Take a moment now to pause and annotate this cartoon. I won't do this one for you. Take a moment to think about it. Remember step 1 and step 2. So I hope you annotated and thought about that a little. The caption is really interesting here. The caption is quite long under there, and if you were to put it into a translation tool, it doesn't quite capture the meaning. It essentially is saying that the present circumstances are so desperate in France in 1789 that it's up to all of the estates to work together to share in carrying the burden. And what is the burden now? It is the taxes, it is the duties that must be paid by the territory, the nation. It's the debt nationale, the national debt, the money that's owed by the king. The third estate, the clergy, and the second estate must all do their part in this imagery as a brotherhood of France. These ideas are coming through. Shoulder their burden as equals to support the king, support the nation in this time of need. Again, there's no real criticism at this stage of the king himself. Let's look at one final image now. And it's this one. The third estate awakes. So I'm going to again let you pause for a moment and annotate this. There's some very interesting imagery here of new ideas that are about to be introduced into our course. So hopefully this time you have again identified the three estates. I almost don't want to point to them with the mouse to show you who's who. I think you should be getting very familiar with the imagery now. Hopefully you're picking up on the horror in the faces of the first and second estate, the clergy and the aristocracy, as the third estate now awaken, breaking the chains that we had seen in previous imagery and reaching for weapons. In the background, we have some very interesting imagery. We've got a major building being torn down. You can see workers swinging picks at the top of this fortress, breaking it down. I don't want to name that for you, but it's an event right at the start of the French Revolution. So I'm going to suggest to you that the revolution has commenced by the time this image is drawn. You'll also notice a crowd at the background, lined up. It looks like they have spears, weapons in the air above them, and two large protruding poles. And what is it that is on these poles? What is it, I wonder, that we're starting to see appear after July 1789? We have anger, we have horror, we have destruction of buildings, the tearing down of buildings, we have the gathering of crowds, and we have something being hoisted above the crowd on poles. A very interesting image now indeed, and perhaps a little bit more ominous as we talk about the revolution breaking out.